welcome into Day by Day. We're back after the bye week. James here, and I'm with Andrew. Andrew, how are you, my man?
I'm good. Did you enjoy your bye?
I enjoyed my bye. I had a great bye.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy your bye?
I watched a lot of football Saturday. That was actually
Okay.
It was like the most I just sat on the couch and watched other games. So I did enjoy it. So.
Well, I was in South Dakota. It was actually nice. We were in the Black Hills, and just to rest, recharge, get away from. I mean, I was on Twitter a little bit, but I didn't do a whole lot. I didn't watch any football. I did catch the end of the Nebraska volleyball game against Purdue that went 5 sets, and so I was sweating with everybody else as we beat Purdue in 5 sets. But I didn't watch any football. It was actually nice. I didn't feel pressure. I didn't feel nervous.
You didn't turn it on when I texted you about Will Howard or Ohio State right at the end?
Okay, I did. So I did see. I lied. I did see that. I forgot. That was just this weekend.
That was wild. Yeah.
But it's already Thursday. So
yeah.
I'm really messed up. So yeah, that was just okay. So before we get to Nebraska, let's talk about Ohio State, Oregon, and the finish. Because I did watch. That's right. You texted and I turned it on. It was on my phone. And I was just watching the end. So I did. Yes, I'm remembering now. It's all coming back to me. Vacation fog is going away.
Yeah, the clock management was poor. So I heard that there was a penalty on Oregon for 12 men on the field, and that was apparently intentional because now the NCAA has changed that so that can't be intentional. It was just it was a mess, those 2 plays, and then I don't know how he just panicked. Like he thought open field in front of me. He just I'm guessing he just had that moment where he just forgot what the clock was because he knelt and then another player's hitting timeout and then he tries it and he's already 2 seconds late on it. So
well, and for me, I want to talk about the penalty here in a minute, but on the scramble, I'm fine with the scramble, but he stayed in the pocket for a couple seconds and you're
if you've got to get down 5 yards sooner too. So
and I'm like, if you want to scramble, great. Just snap the ball and scramble for some yards. But I mean, to sit back there and then take off and kind of not have the awareness of the time, whatever he is.
Even if they would have had a 60-yarder, it stinks that they didn't even get to bring the kicker out. But that's football. It's great.
So the penalty, I know that's been talked about ad nauseum, and it's hard to know, did Lanning do that on purpose? Did he not? Does it even matter? I'm curious.
He said that he did. I think Lanning admitted that.
I saw the interview.
But I mean, in that situation, I like what they've changed it to, where it's you give the offense you give the offense the opportunity to take the time, the runoff or not, or get the ball back with the time that was originally on it. So
it is interesting that there's probably reasons for it. It's interesting that they even let the play continue when there's 12 men on the field.
Yeah.
I don't know what they used to do years and years ago. And I know substitution penalties have changed a little bit here and there over the years, but I'm kind of the persuasion that, if you got 12 guys on the field, that play should be blown dead because I know, you give the offense the chance to, make a play. Okay. But the whole point of putting 12 men on the field is so the offense can't make a play because you have an extra defender. So the odds of the Ohio State offense there having a big play is minimal. So just blow it dead and then no time ticks off. I don't know if they'll just completely look at that rule and wholesale changes, blow it dead in the future. I don't know what they'll do, but good for Oregon, I guess.
Yeah, it was a great game. I think, we'll have to break that one down and bring that for our Ohio State prep.
I know. Yeah. I mean, I'm impressed. I think there were a lot of people who thought Ohio State would trounce Oregon. And I didn't think that, But I've been surprised at Oregon. They played tough. Now they haven't played a full Big Ten schedule. I think they had UCLA and then Ohio State. Did they have anybody else in there? Yeah. So it's not like they've played, the traditional Big Ten teams week after week after week. So it'll be interesting to see what happens down the road. But all right, well, we got Indiana this week. So let's talk the Hoosiers. They're 6-0.
Don't be offended, Indiana, if we beat you.
Don't be offended. One of my favorite videos that I post regularly on Twitter in relation to Indiana is Mike Woodson's Tominaga over and over. He says that. I don't know what he was referencing. I think it was one of those half times where we were just butchering them. This past year, we took three out of 3 from Indiana. So one of my favorite videos to post. But they're 6-0. They got a brand new coach. I think people are a little bit enamored and like, how could he turn them around in 1 year? Let's be honest. None of the teams that they've played thus far currently have a winning record. There's a few of them at 3-3. They've played Maryland and Northwestern, who are both in the not great category. And then Northwestern turns around and creams Maryland after Maryland lost to Indiana. So I think Indiana is a good team, but I don't think they're a world beater. I don't think they're in the category of an Oregon or Ohio State. So where do you want to start with this one?
Yeah. So one thing, we heard a lot over the week is you see a lot of these teams that we've beat. How did they fare the next week? Or, a lot of people want to equate how a team played against this team to how good we are. I don't want to do that with Indiana. We also talk about with the Huskers, like just beat who's on your schedule. Don't apologize for it. So yes, they have all these double-digit wins. I will say I agree. I think it's a little deceptive. I even heard an analyst, wow, they had impressive, they're going through their schedule, going on the road at Northwestern, and it's like Northwestern plays on a practice field right now because they don't have a stadium. So it's like, how tough was that? So it's not going to throw any shade at them at this point until we stomp them. But
I think they have a good team, but as I look at their schedule, I'm like, okay, it was, against Northwestern, it was 17-10 at halftime. They ended up scoring a lot of points in the fourth quarter. Indiana, 17 to Northwestern 7. So they pulled away. They played Maryland 14-7 at halftime, 28-21 at the end of the third quarter.
3 turnovers first half, I think.
And they had 4 turnovers for the game, and Maryland couldn't capitalize on that. And then they end up pulling away,
I think they've scored
by 14.
like 80 points in the fourth quarter this year. So that's impressive that they put, they can close games out.
Super impressive.
People in the end. So and James Madison was a good team. He brought, I think he's got 8 starters from his previous squad. So that says something, that you can gel with your coach and you can come in and instill that culture right away. So it will be a test for sure. And I think, let's not, from my standpoint, I want to win. And when we win, I want it to look like a good win. So I don't want to diminish who they are. Let's go in with that mentality. So what do you,
well, let's kind of double click on that, because I think let's kind of talk about fan psychology for a minute. We do this as fans. We try to find the statistic, the storyline, whatever it is, to suit the way we're feeling. And so if you were to go on Twitter right now, you could find people who will cite evidence that supports their positive view of Nebraska and their negative view of Indiana. Similarly, you could find people who will cite evidence to build up Indiana and tear down Nebraska. And those both Husker fans. And I think like there are the people out there who hate Marcus Satterfield, want to fire Ed Foley, and don't believe that Nebraska's defense is really as good as every other game except for one is, they're like, well, Indiana's probably going to win by 14 plus. Well, that might happen. That might happen. But as you look at the whole, as you look at statistics, as you look at some of the statistics Eric talked about in our episode last week, Indiana and Nebraska are neck and neck, and their strength of schedule is really similar. I think Nebraska's strength of record is better than Indiana's.
Right.
And I think just eye test, you look at the teams they play, I think Nebraska's played better teams.
Yeah. And I think talent, I think we surpass them in talent.
I agree. But we find what we want to kind of make us feel better about ourselves. And I think you just can't, like, if that's what you want to do as a fan, that's fine. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Because that's not reality. And so I want to look at like the whole thing. I think Indiana is a good team. I don't think they're a top tier team. That doesn't mean they might not win by 14 points. That's actually, like, I'm trying to prepare myself as a fan to say, if Nebraska loses, let's say they lose 42-28, it does not mean the year is over, but there will be people who say the year is over. They're not going to win a bowl. They're not going to get to a bowl game if that happens. Yeah.
No, did.
I'm assuming you agree.
Yeah, we did that with Rutgers. When they said, look at, they beat Washington, and then we play them tough, and then next week they get pounded by Wisconsin. It's like, we're not as good as we thought, like, because what they,
100%. I think in college football today, almost every Saturday is its own sample size.
Yeah.
Like, I get there's a whole, there's the big story, but what matters most in all sports, really, but especially college sports, is matchups.
Yeah.
And there are, like, so often you look at two teams, you're like, this is just a bad matchup.
Yeah.
And I think we'll get into this. I actually think this is a good matchup for Nebraska.
Yeah.
And so I would not be surprised if Nebraska comes away with a win. I'm going to predict them to win. I'm going to stick with my preseason prediction, but I wouldn't be surprised if Dylan Raiola has a great day, and I wouldn't be surprised if our secondary has a really good day. So
matchups, and can our coaches beat their coaches? Like, that's a big game plan. All of that's a big factor. But let's get into it. Like, what are let's do keys on offense and defense.
Yep. I think I'll start on offense. For me, well, actually, I want to go bigger picture. And I don't know if it's offense or defense. I think Nebraska needs to withstand the opening wave of emotion that's going to come on the road, big noon kickoff, sellout crowd. I don't know when the last time Indiana sold out a game. Maybe they did earlier this year, and I just missed that. But it's going to be a very raucous crowd, only 53,000 people. It's not a huge stadium, so it's not overwhelming like the Horseshoe or whatever, but it's going to be, the energy is going to be there. And so what I don't want to see Nebraska come out flat, and I would not mind if, we get the ball first, get a couple first downs, move the ball. If we don't score, fine. Indiana, maybe they get a first down and they punt. I would not mind the most boring first quarter you could imagine.
Yeah.
Because then it's going to settle everybody down. And then after, I would say, like, the first 7-8 minutes, then you just play football.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's the first key, is withstand that opening wave of emotion. I would probably prefer Indiana to have the ball first because of the crowd and all that. But man, then you're like, well, if they have a good start and they go down and score, that could get ugly. Yeah. So I just withstand that first 7 minutes.
Yeah. I think along that, to tie into that, Rule really likes to talk about, he loves he loves going, I love road games. Who's that?
Taylor.
He loves road games. He loves
Taylor.
Yeah. Taylor
Martinez.
Yeah, he loves the road games. He loves that. He says it brings the team together, the camaraderie. It's kind of it's us against them, and I think, he loves grittiness. And I mean, this is boring Indiana. This is nothing flashy about this. So I really see them, if the team, that's a key, if they can embrace that mentality, business like, hey, we're going into a back alley fight here, and we're gonna walk out a lot, or walk out winners.
Yeah.
I like at the end of the Purdue game, he's like, let's get the hell out of Lafayette, and everyone's cheering. And it's going to be that, I think, that same, like, let's go ahead and take care of business and let's get out of here.
Agree.
So I think, the team mindset, and that's obviously going to carry over to, can they withstand that first onslaught? So
I agree. And I just think that, they need to prepare, like it's a big game. And I think they know that, you can't come out like you did against Purdue. They finished strong, but if they start that way, what I don't want to see is them down 14-0, 17-0. So not necessarily start fast, but start strong.
Yeah. I also wonder, this not in my notes, but just hearing Rule talk about the Buschini fake punt. He talks about how he should have done that the first time. He wanted to do that on the first punt.
Yep.
I just wonder if there's some lessons learned there with the bye week. He also talked about he dove deep into a lot of things. Maybe that is the mentality. Let's get out. Maybe play 2 is a 80-yard bomb from let's stun them a little bit. So
which we haven't seen.
Right.
Since really the first game or two, we haven't seen long throws. We talked about this last week with Eric. Nebraska's been really good kind of between the 40s. They move the ball, but they don't have explosive plays. And Eric said, like, that's one thing that surprised me is the lack of explosive plays. I would love to see some long throws.
Yeah.
I think maybe the long runs will come. It's hard to know. Is that going to come from a bye week? But, I want to see some explosive plays, and I think they're most likely to happen through the air. I think Indiana's secondary can be had a little bit. So
they like to play zone. I think I saw a stat that 80% of their defensive plays are zone. And,
bring it.
And Raiola's passer rating against the zone was far better than against man. And so that was so I put that down as a key, and I think it's give Raiola time to throw, because we've seen with the bad picks was a bad snap, but we've seen the missed opportunities. Think of the Illinois game. He always seems to have a guy in his face. So if they can just give him that extra couple of seconds to make the right reads and really set his feet, he could pick them apart. So
I think along those lines, and I hadn't really thought of this, but kind of been a storyline throughout the year, is with the zone. Like, I want to see the tight ends become a bigger part of the offense in the middle of the field, stretching the zone, finding those open pockets 10, 15, 20 yards deep into the zone. I hope that is a focus point. And I hope they look back at the film throughout the first half of the year in the bye week. I love that Rule. Somebody asked him about recruiting when the bye week started, and he goes, yeah, we're going to see a few places. But what I loved wasn't, he didn't say, actually, we're all over the country this whole week. Because I think he was like, yeah, we're going to go to a few places, but we're here to study, to learn, to prepare, because we want to win. That was actually really refreshing.
And what better recruiting than
winning.
Big Noon kickoff? Yeah, winning on Big Noon against the top 20 team. So that can go far.
Yep.
What do you got for defense?
Well, I'll piggyback on what you said. I think that while I want to see us throw, especially against their zone, I want to see us actually limit possessions and score when we get the ball. I don't really want to get into a shootout with their offense. Again, so James Madison is a FCS team, right? So you still have, like, they're good, but when you have FCS level athletes, now they're playing FBS, I get that, but a lot of these guys started FCS. When you give them confidence and it's back and forth, that just builds more confidence for them.
Yeah.
So I go into this, I know that we're the underdog, but in terms of talent, and you already said this, We are not the underdog. We should not lose this game on just talent on paper. That's why they play the games on the field. So I want to limit possessions. And I know in the bye week, red zone offense has been a priority. So when you get inside the 40, 30-yard line, score points, preferably touchdowns.
Yep.
I want this to be like an 8-10 possession game. I know that doesn't seem like a lot, but it's like, each team gets the ball 2 times a quarter. That's about it.
And if you score on 6 of those 8, I mean,
yep, you're going to win the game.
Yep.
So that's my big one for the offense is limit possessions, long possessions. You can still throw the ball on long possessions, but take your whole 40 seconds, which actually Dylan does a great job of doing. Just calming the offense down. We don't have to hurry. 40 seconds is a long time. I want to see him prioritize that and then score when you get down there.
Yep.
All right. How about defense for you?
Yeah, defense to me, it's about tackling, taking the right angles. Like to me, they have the Illinois comp in this game. Like the QBs are similar. Can be fleet of foot, good accurate arm, gets the ball out quick. So to me, we got to learn from that Illinois game, which I think they have. But they got to take the right angles. They got to tackle well, and they got to win one-on-one matchups because they got speed and size. I mean, they've got some receivers that can burn you if you're not in position. So that to me is key. I like the matchup. I like Tony White and the deception he's going to throw at him as far as the pass rush goes. But if that QB gets out the pocket and we aren't corralling him correctly, then it could be a long day.
I agree. I think that for me, the defense they need to have Indiana play behind schedule.
Mm-hmm.
So incompletions on first down, limit that first down run to 2 or less yards. Make them play 2nd and 8, 3rd and 6, 3rd and 10, 2nd and 10. Nebraska is better when they're doing that. Every team is better. This is not rocket science. Like this is pretty basic stuff. So it goes back to what you're saying though, tackling. They have to tackle well. Indiana's -3 in turnovers in the last 3 games. So they started out great.
Get takeaways.
Get takeaways. Their only turnovers have come in 1 game, the 4 against Maryland. But I bet you Tony White has watched that film raw. What made them why did they turn the ball over? What was it? And I think it was 2 picks and 2 fumbles, if I'm not mistaken. So get a turnover. We don't turn the ball over a lot. I'm not worried. I'm not really worried actually about Nebraska turning the ball over, but if we can steal one, it was one of my keys in the Rutgers game. Just go +1. And we did. We went +1. So go +1. And when you get a turnover, score, which we're actually good at doing. And that could be the difference in the game. I don't know much about Indiana's special teams, honestly. I know you watched some highlights. I don't know what you saw. I don't know if they're dominant. I don't know if they're average or good. I know we're,
Give me a D on that assignment. I didn't check it out. Nothing stood out. Yep. We'll see.
I'm excited too about what you said, Tony White, and I think he's going to show things that Indiana hasn't seen. I think we're going to see some things that we haven't seen from the defense. But again, you look at the teams Indiana's played, right? Florida International, Western Illinois, UCLA, Charlotte, Maryland, Northwestern. None of them, not a one. I mean, people are like, oh, we haven't played an offense like Indiana's. Yes, we have. They're called Colorado, and we handled them pretty easily. Colorado has a better quarterback, better skill players than Indiana. Indiana, again, is a good team. They have good players. Their offense is not as good as Colorado's. But on the other side of the coin, Indiana has not played a defense like Nebraska's.
Right. I don't know if you heard, I heard Ty Robinson have a quote this week. about not allowing teams in the end zone. He goes, it's just something we decided. Like, they don't score when they get down there. Don't score. And
I love it.
It feels like they've really created, this kind of mentality that we're a wall in the inside there. So, yeah, and I think I'd love to see James Williams get going again. I love how they're using him.
So fun to watch.
It's not Ty and Nash necessarily getting to the QB, but collapsing the pocket, driving the QB out where he thinks he's safe, and boom, here comes somebody on the edge. And I mean, that's been fun to watch. And I think there's opportunity for that this game. So,
I mean, and what I love about Williams is when it's an obvious passing down, he is a nightmare for quarterbacks. Yeah, he's so long. I tweeted out after the Rutgers game, and I'm not just saying this to say it, but the way that he plays and his motor, he reminds me of a young Grant Wistrom before Grant put on a bunch of weight and then became an All-American. Yeah. Williams just has that. He's got the length, the size, the speed, the motor, I think the want to and desire, but like he is a terror in obvious passing downs. And Indiana likes to, I know they do their RPO. I get all that, but man, that's why I say, if you can get them behind schedule and they're playing in 3rd and 6, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10, Williams is on the field. Like, he's going to get a couple more sacks. He will.
Yeah. He's really, really turned into a weapon we didn't necessarily. I mean, we knew we had him, but 4 sacks, I think, already tied for the lead on the team.
Should have had 3 last week because they blew that play dead at the end where they said it was an incompletion. It wasn't. It was an actual sack. So, yeah.
We see some good refereeing this game. Just want to see.
Let's see some good reffing. Yeah. I don't want 10 penalties. I don't want 10 penalties on Indiana or Nebraska. I just want them to play football.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Let's get into some predictions. Do you have any?
Okay. We got to talk one more point. Okay.
Go ahead.
Curt Cignetti. He's talking.
How can we get through this whole thing without talking about
the Google
me?
He oddly reminds me of a weird combo. I'm like, which Husker coach does he remind me of? It's Bill Callahan and Bo Pelini together. Like, it's
you think so?
Yeah. Because he's got some Ohio or something in him. He's just got that the way he talks. Yeah. But the attitude, like Bill Callahan.
Yeah, sure. Okay. But I could also see kind of his just a little bit of Bob Diaco, right? Like, just kind of just an awkward person.
Yeah.
And with all due respect, Mr. Google me, just a little bit awkward at times. Yeah. I think so.
Hey, he pushes the right buttons for his team. Great. But so I had a thought about this. So with a coach like this, I mean, we haven't seen us play him yet, but do you think when times get tough, does that arrogance, that cockiness lead to stubbornness where he stays with what he believes? Because we've seen that with Husker coaches where
that's a good question.
It's driven us mad. We're like, why don't you adjust? And it's like, no, this is what they do, so they're going to stick with it. Or does the cockiness lead him to do we see kind of this personality of like trick plays and gimmicky stuff? And I'm curious. Just it'll be
what kind of question is that?
What kind of question is that? Yeah.
Thanks, Bo. You know what? That is a great question.
Yeah.
I think that, so like, obviously try to be a humble person. Try not to be, I don't think the people that work with me, for me, my family would call me cocky. I have my moments, of course. I do think though, when I get arrogant, it leads me to block everything out and say, I'm going to do it my way.
Yeah.
And I'm going to lean in harder and say, you know what? I trust myself. And sometimes that works. I think sometimes you get lucky, but I think with sports, especially, if you don't surround yourself with the right voices and the right people, and of course, I don't know anything about his coaching staff or the relationships he has with coaches. But every head coach in college football is kind of a type A alpha dog, right? Like, they believe in what got them there. So for my part, I hope that we frustrate him and that he sticks to his guns and and, does what's not working and digs them into a deeper hole. But I hadn't thought about that before you asked.
Yeah, I think I see parallels. Obviously, the offense, we talk about Colorado, but you could say the coaches, there's some parallels there.
Yep.
And Prime just wanted to stick with not running the ball and not blocking the pass rush. And it would be interesting if we see some of that same stuff. But
bold strategy. Yeah,
that works, Scott.
I am I'm fascinated by him. His opening press conference, right? He's like, I win. Google me. And you're just like, again, like I'm getting to the point now where I'm further away from college and I'm closer to my kids will soon be thinking about where to go to college.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's, I'm not, it's not just a fantasy world that I'm living in to think one day, if my kids want to play sports, I'm not saying at a Division I level, any level, that like, if I saw that, I would say, to my kids, my daughters or my sons, like, I don't know if I'd want you to play for somebody like that.
Right.
Now we're getting into something else other than, predictions, but it strikes me as somebody like, yeah, there's a lot of coaches in college football that I love listening to. I respect the heck out of. And if Matt Rule wasn't our coach, I would be happy with some other guys. But after one press conference from him, I was kind of like, dude, I'm glad I'm not an Indiana fan.
To me, it's like put up this year. Okay, see what you do this year. Now you can go next year, be a little bit cocky. But he really just ran in here and it's like, here I am. But hey, he's backed it up. They've won 6 games.
And yet, maybe we'll eat crow at the end of this year. But I also want to remind people, other than us, and maybe they lose, maybe they beat us. And more power to you. They play Washington, Michigan State, Michigan, who's incredibly down, Ohio State, Purdue. Their schedule is perhaps the easiest schedule any Big Ten team in the new 18-team era could have asked for.
They didn't play Power 5 non-conference. Yeah, that's crazy.
They didn't. They avoid Penn State. They avoid Oregon. They avoid USC. They avoid Iowa, who is good. Iowa's a good team. They're a good program. So they got really lucky.
Yeah. They may finish 10-2.
They could legitimately go 10-2. Yeah. Okay.
But we're gonna break them, as we like to do to people. So
yes, we are going to break them. Win or lose, we will break them. And win or lose, you will lose to Washington the next week. You will.
Look at it. It's what I think 5 or 1-5 teams are 1-5 the week after.
Colorado is the only team that's won.
Yeah.
How about Colorado? By the way, 5-1. I did not see that coming.
They lost. They're 4-2.
Colorado. That's right.
You were on vacation.
That's right. Oh, that's right. They lost to Kansas State.
Yep.
4-2. Still 4-2. I did not see that coming.
No.
I'll edit that part out. Actually, I won't. I'm an idiot sometimes. That's right. That's right. They lost. Was it in overtime? Did I just say that?
No. It came down to the final. It came down to
okay.
There was a fourth down pass that probably should have been called interference. Was not. Nobody was really pinning the game on that.
31-28. But Kansas State was up and Colorado scored 14, and they're like, okay.
Kind of back and forth. K-State scored with, I think, under 2 minutes to go up.
Yeah. So that game was on late, and I think I remember trying to watch it, and we were exhausted because we did some swimming that day, or we were hiking that day, and I was just like, I cannot stay up and watch this game. I got to go to bed. Okay.
All right. Back to
oddly specific predictions for this Saturday. What do you got?
All right. Ty Robinson will get a strip sack.
Ooh.
That the Huskers recover deep in Indiana territory.
Okay. So Ty Robinson with the strip sack. Great.
Yeah.
All right. My oddly specific prediction is that Sierra Wright is going to have a pick that he will return for 17 yards.
Whew.
That will set Nebraska up for a touchdown later in the drive. But yeah, I think he's going to get a pick. I've been super impressed with him. He had that pretty crazy, cool interception last week, kind of on his back. I think he gets one on his feet this week. So
his like don't know his grades specifically, but yeah, his number of pass deflections and picks, and he's playing really, really well.
Active hands.
Yep.
Turns his head.
Yeah.
I love it. Surprise. I feel like surprise of the year so far.
So I have an offensive one. I like to do one for defense and offense.
Okay, let's do it. I might make one up on the spot.
I have Heinrich Harburg running an option keeper at some point in the game for a first down.
That'd be awesome.
I want to see it. I want to see a little Heinrich from last year.
I hope we see that. Man, could I make up one on the spot here?
Offensive.
You know what? Okay, not. We've seen this before. I'm going to say Isaiah Nayor goes over 100 yards receiving.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm going to say he gets 7 catches. So big day for him. 7 catches for 116 yards.
We need Yeah, he's disappeared a little bit. Not necessarily his own fault, but yeah, I agree. How many yards?
Okay. I think I just said 117
yep.
or 7 for 116.
7 for 116.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if he ends up with 117, I'm going to give myself credit for that oddly specific prediction. So, okay, what's your game score prediction?
All right, I am going to give their offense a little credit. 20. They're going to get 20.
Okay.
It's going to be Nebraska 27, Indiana 20. Nebraska wins 27 because we missed an extra point.
Okay. That'd be heartbreaking with everything else that's gone on to miss an extra point. But
they're going to cause us stress a little bit. But
all right, I will also give Indiana some credit. Again, I saw Nebraska at this point before the season losing to Illinois, going 5-1 into Indiana. Didn't see Indiana being 6-0. Predicted Nebraska to win easily, but I will still predict Nebraska to win, just not as comfortably. So I'm going to say Nebraska 28, Indiana 27.
Ooh.
In a nail biter. Indiana gets to 27 because of a couple field goals. I think they get in the red zone and Nebraska tightens up and forces a few field goals. So I could see a scenario. So I could kind of see two worlds. I could see a world where Nebraska's up 14-0 and Indiana keeps chipping away.
Yep.
I could see a world where Indiana's up 14-0. Nebraska says this game's not over and we kind of come back for the victory. So I hope it's neither of those to save our sanity. But I think Nebraska 28, Indiana 27.
That's been a little of the trend. I feel like as rules very much celebrated these somewhat ugly games that are kind of the counter to what we've been experiencing. So pulling off a 1 point win on the road, little comeback that matches the storyline pretty well. So, hey, I'll take it.
I will too. All right. Well, we'll wrap it up there. Thanks everybody for watching, for tuning in. Again, you can find us on characterchronicles.com. If you didn't know, we are actually the only podcast exclusive to characterchronicles.com. Make sure you subscribe, like, share, follow us on Twitter. We would love to hear from you. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.